Hare Krishna Siya, Hare Krishna Madhav, Hare Krishna Amba, Kirtaniya Gora, Hare Krishna Rapayani Bhakti, Hare Krishna Tarini Radha, and Keshav. Thank you all for joining Youth Jam. So nice to see you all again here. And before we start, can we get someone to nominate a person to make the prayer? Because we can't start without a prayer. And I'll send the format and some other links in the chat if you haven't done it before. But let's get a nomination and hopefully we can second it. All right, Sia nominates Keshav. I second that. Keshav, would you like to go ahead and make a prayer?
Okay. Dear Radha Madhav, Nrsingadev, and Nitai Gaur Sundar and Jagannath Baladev Subhadramai, please make sure that, or please, if you so desire, please make this UGM a successful, and we all end the UGM with learning something new to help us in our Krishna consciousness, and also that we just have a nice time doing UGM. Thank you for considering our request.
Thank you so much, Keshav. Really nice prayer. I do hope we learned something by the end of this program. And with that, we can start with our first activity of the program, which is Chad, and I'll hand it over to Anupayani Bhakti.
Hare Krishna, everyone. We will begin with Chad today. So I will read the verses and you can all recite with me alongside muted microphones. And then afterwards we'll go through the translations. And I think there are just a couple, there's several of us here, but maybe we can all get a chance to read. So we can raise our hands afterwards. Rupam mahate bahubhaktanetram Mahabaho bahu bahurupadam Bahudaram bahudamsya karalam Vishtva loka pravyatita sataham Nabhasprishan deeptamanekavarnam Vyatananam deeptavishalanetram Drishtva hi tvam pravyatitantaratma Dvitim na vindami shamam cha Vishnu Damstra karalani cha te mukhani Drishtva kalana lasani bhani Disho na jane na labhe cha sharma Prasida devesha jagannivasa Ami tvam dhritarashtrasya putra Sarve sahaivarvanipala sangai Bhishmo drona sutta putrastataso Sahasmadiyerapi yoda mukhye Vaktrani te tvaramana vishanti Damstra karalani bhayanakani Kechid vilagna dashanantareshu Sandrishyante churniteruttamangai Yata nadinam bahavomvuvega Samudrameva vimuka dravanti Tatartavami naralokavira Vishanti vaktranyabhijvalanti Yata pradiptam jvalanam patanga Vishanti nashaya samriddha vega Tataiva nashaya vishanti lokas Tavapi vaktrani samriddha vega Leliyase samana samanta Lokan samagran vadanirjvalabhi Tejo Birapurya Jagat Samagram Bhasastavogra Pratapanti Vishnu Akyahi me ko bhavanugra rupo Namostu te deva vara prasida विज्ञामिच्छामि भवन्तम् विज्ञामिच्छामि भवन्तमाद्यं न हि प्रजानामि तव प्रवृत्तिम् श्रीभगवानुवाच कालोऽस्मि लोकक्षयकृत् प्रवृद्धो लोकान् समाहर्तुमिह प्रवृत्ता ऋतेऽपि त्वां न भविष्यन्ति सर्वे येव स्थिता प्रत्यनीकेषु योधा तस्मात् त्वमुत्तिष्ठ यशो लभस्व जित्वा शत्रून् भुङ्क्ष्व राज्यं समृद्धम् मयैवैते निहत पूर्वमेव निमित्तमात्रं भव सव्यसाचिन् द्रोणं च भीष्मं च जयद्रथं च कर्णं तथान्यानपि योधवीरान् मया हतां स्वां जहिमा व्यतिष्ठ युध्यस्वजेतसि रणे सपत्नान् सञ्जय उवाच एतत् श्रुत्वा वचनं केशवस्य कृताञ्जलिर्वेपमना किरीटी नमस्कृत्वा भूय एवाह कृष्णं स गद्गदं भीतभीता प्रणम्य अर्जुन उवाच स्थाने ऋषिकेश तव प्रकीर्त्या जगत्प्ररिष्यत्यनुरज्यते च रक्षांसि भीतानि दिशो द्रवन्ति सर्वे नमस्यन्ति च सिद्धसङ्घा कस्माच्च तेन नमरेन्महात्मन् गरीयसे ब्रह्मणोऽप्यादिकर्त्रे अनन्तदेवेश जगन्निवास त्वमक्षरं सदसतत्परं यत् त्वमादिदेव पुरुषः पुराणस्त्वमस्य विश्वस्य परं निधानम् वेदासि वेद्यं च परं च धाम त्वया ततं विश्वमनन्तरूप वायुर्यमोऽग्निर्वरुणः शशाङ्क प्रजापतिस्त्वं प्रपितामहश्च नमो नमस्ते सुसहस्रकृत्वा पुनश्च भूयोऽपि नमो नमस्ते नमः पुरस्तादत पृष्ठतस्ते नमोऽस्तु ते सर्वत एव सर्व अनन्तवीर्यामितविक्रमस्त्वं सर्वं समाप्नोषि ततोऽसि सर्वा सकेति मत्वा प्रसभं यदुक्तं हे कृष्ण हे यादव हे सकेति अजानता महिमनन्तवेदं मया प्रमादात् प्रणयेन वापि यच्चावः तमसत्कृतोऽसि विहारशय्यासनभोजनेषु एको तवाप्यच्युत तत्समक्षं तत्क्षामये त्वामहमप्रमेयम् पितासि लोकस्य चराचरस्य त्वमस्य पूज्यश्च गुरुर्गरीयान् न त्वत्समोऽस्त्यप्यधिका कुतोऽन्यो लोकत्रयेऽप्यप्रतिमा प्रभाव तस्मात् प्रणम्य प्रणिधाय कायं प्रसादये त्वामहमीशमीड्यं पितेव पुत्रस्य सखेव सख्यु प्रिया प्रियायार्हसि देव सोढुम् अदृष्टपूर्वं हृषितोऽस्मि दृष्ट्वा भयेन च प्रव्यथितं मनो मे तदेव मे दर्शय देवरूपं प्रसीद देवेश जगन्निवास किरीटनं गदिनं चक्रहस्तं इच्छामि त्वां द्रष्टुमहं तथैव तेनैव रूपेण चतुर्भुजेन सहस्रबाहो भव विश्वमूर्ते श्रीभगवानुवाच मया प्रसन्नेन तवर्जुनेदं रूपं परं दर्शितमात्मयोगा तेजोमयं विश्वमनन्तमाद्यं यन्मे त्वदन्येन न दृष्टपूर्वम् न वेदयज्ञाध्ययनेन दानेर्न च क्रियाभिर्न तपोभिरुग्रे एवं रूपः शाक्य अहं नृलोके द्रष्टुं त्वदन्येन कुरु प्रवीरा मा ते व्यथा मा च विमूढभावो दृष्ट्वा रूपं घोरमिदृन्ममेदं व्यपेतभिप्रीतमना पुनस्त्वं तदेव मे रूपमिदं प्रपश्य सञ्जय उवाच इत्यर्जुनं वासुदेवस्ततोक्त्वा स्वकं रूपं दर्शयमास भूय आश्वासयामास च भीतमेनं भूत्वा पुनः सौम्य वपुर्महात्मा अर्जुन उवाच दृष्ट्वेदं मनुषां रूपं तव सौम्यं जनार्दन इदानीमस्मि संवृत्ता सचेता प्रकृतिं गता श्रीभगवानुवाच सुदुर्दर्शमिदं रूपं दृष्टवानसि यन्मम देव अप्यस्य रूपस्य नित्यदर्शनकाङ्क्षिणः नाहं वेदैर्न तपसा न दानेन च चेज्यया शक्य एवं विदो द्रष्टुं दृष्टवानसि मम यथा भक्त्या त्वनन्यया शक्य अहमेवं विदोऽर्जुन ज्ञातुं द्रष्टुं च तत्त्वेन प्रवेष्टुं च परन्तप मत्कर्म कृन्मत्परमो मद्भक्ता सङ्गवर्जिता निर्वैरा सर्वभूतेषु या स मामेति पाण्डव ॐ तत्सदिति श्रीमद्भगवद्गीतासु उपनिषत्सु ब्रह्मविद्यायां योगशास्त्रे श्रीकृष्णार्जुनसंवादे विश्वरूपदर्शनयोगो नाम एकादशोऽध्यायः हरि ओम्. All right, hopefully everyone enjoyed chanting those verses. I think they were a bit harder than usual, the second half of 11th chapter, but now we can move on to translations. And I think maybe we can all read 4 translations each. So raise your hand if you'd like to read. Okay, you guys can just go ahead in order. So Keshav, please begin.
O mighty armed one, all the planets with their demigods are disturbed at seeing your great form, with its many faces, eyes, arms, thighs, legs, and bellies, and your many terrible teeth, and they are disturbed, so am I. O all-pervading Vishnu, seeing you with your many radiant colors touching the sky, your gaping mouths, and your great glowing eyes, my mind was perturbed by fear. I can no longer maintain my steadiness or equilibrium of mind. O Lord of Lords, our refuge of the world, please be gracious to me. I cannot keep my balance, seeing thus your blazing death-like faces and awful teeth. In all directions I am bewildered. All the sons of Dhritarashtra, along with their allied kings, and Bhishma, Drona, Karna, and our chief soldiers also, are rushing into your fearful mouths, and some I see trapped with heads smashed between your teeth.
As the many waves of the rivers flow into the ocean, so do all these great warriors enter blazing into your mouths. I see all people rushing full speed into your mouths, as moths dash to destruction in a blazing fire. O Vishnu, I see you devouring all the people from all sides with your flaming mouths. Covering the universe with your effulgence, you are manifest with terrible scorching rays. O Lord of Lords, so fierce of form, please tell me who you are. I offer my obeisances to you. Please be gracious to me. You are the primal Lord. I want to know about you, for I do not know what your mission is.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "Time I am, the great destroyer of the worlds, and I have come here to destroy all people, with the exception of you, the Pandavas. All the soldiers here on both sides will be slain. Therefore get up, prepare to fight and win glory, conquer your enemies and enjoy a flourishing kingdom. They are already put to death by my arrangement, and you, O Savyasachi, can be but an instrument in the fight. Drona, Bhishma, Jayadratha, Karna, and the other great warriors have already been destroyed by me. Therefore, kill them and do not be disturbed. Simply fight, and you will vanquish your enemies in battle." Sanjay said to Dhritarashtra, "O king, after hearing these words from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the trembling Arjuna offered obeisances with folded hands again and again. He fearfully spoke to Lord Krishna in a faltering voice as follows.
Arjuna said, "O master of the senses, the world becomes joyful upon hearing your name, and thus everyone becomes attached to you. Although the perfected beings offer you their respectful homage, the demons are afraid, and they flee here and there. All this is rightly done. O Great One, greater even than Brahma, you are the original creator. Why then should they not offer their respectful obeisances unto you? O limitless One, gods of gods, refuge of the universe. You are the invincible source, the cause of all causes, transcendental to material manifestation. You are the original personality of Godhead, the oldest, the ultimate sanctuary of this manifested cosmic world. You are the knower of everything, and you are all that is knowable. You are the supreme refuge above the material modes. O limitless form, this whole cosmic manifestation is pervaded by you. You are air, and you are the supreme controller. You are fire, you are water, and you are the moon. You are Brahma, the first living creature, and you are the great grandfather. I therefore offer my respectful obeisances unto you 1,000 times, and again and yet again."
Obeisances to you from the front, from behind, and oops. I apologize. I'm sure it's stuck. Obeisances to you from the front, from behind, and from all sides. O unbounded power, you are the master of limitless might. You are all-pervading, and thus you are everything. Thinking of you as my friend, I have rashly addressed you, O Krishna, O Yadava, O my friend, not knowing your glories. Please forgive me whatever may have done in madness or in love. I've dishonored you many times, jesting as we relaxed, lay on the same bed, or sat or ate together, sometimes alone and sometimes in front of many friends. O infallible one, please excuse me for all those offenses. You are the father of this complete cosmic manifestation, of the moving and the non-moving. You are its worshipable chief, the supreme spiritual master. No one is greater than you, nor can anyone be with you. How then could there be anyone greater than you within the three worlds, O Lord of immeasurable power? You are the supreme Lord, to be worshipped by every living being. Thus I fall down to offer you my respectful obeisances and ask your mercy. As a father tolerates the impudence of his son, a friend the impertinence of a friend, or a husband the familiarity of his wife, please tolerate the wrongs I may have done you.
After seeing this universal form, which I have never seen before, I am gladdened, but at the same time my mind is disturbed with fear. Therefore, please bestow your grace upon me and reveal again your mercy as the personality of Godhead, O Lord of Lords, O abode of the universe. O universal form, O thousand-armed Lord, I wish to see you in your four-armed form, with helmeted head and with club, wheel, conch, and lotus flower in your hands. I long to see you in that form. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, My dear Arjuna, happily have I shown you, by my internal potency, the supreme universal form within the material world. No one before you has ever seen this primal form, unlimited and full of glaring effulgence. O best of the crew warriors, no one before you have ever seen this universal form of mine, for neither by studying the Vedas, nor by performing sacrifices, nor by charity, nor by pious activities, nor by severe penances can I be seen in this form in the material world.
You have been perturbed and bewildered by seeing this horrible feature of mine. Now let it be finished. My devotee, be free again from all disturbances. With a peaceful mind you can now see the form you desire. Sanjaya said to Dhritarashtra, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, having spoken thus to Arjuna, displayed his real four-armed form, and at last showed his two-armed form, thus encouraging the fearful Arjuna. When Arjuna thus saw Krishna in his original form, he said, O Janardana, seeing this human-like form, so very beautiful, I am now composed in my mind, and I restored to my original nature. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, My dear Arjuna, this form of mine you are now seeing is very difficult to behold. Even the demigods are ever seeking the opportunity to see this form, which is so dear.
The form you are seeing with your transcendental eyes cannot be understood simply by studying the Vedas, nor by undergoing serious penances, nor by charity, nor by worship. It is not by these means that one can see me as I am. My dear Arjuna, only by undivided devotional service can I be understood as I am, standing before you, and can thus be seen directly. Only in this way can you enter into the mysteries of my understanding. My dear Arjuna, he who engages in my pure devotional service, free from the contaminations of fruitive activities and mental speculations, he who works for me, who makes me the supreme goal of his life, and who is friendly to every living being, he certainly comes to me.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, everyone. We hope you enjoyed reading the second half of the 11th chapter. Chaitanya, is there anything in between the activity, or should we?
There might be a discussion topic to help at hand.
Okay, go for it.
All right. Well, thinking about how many appearance days and disappearance days and all other sorts of, festivals that we observe, throughout the year, especially at this time of year, we see in many temples around the world where, especially in Mayapur, if you ever watch the Mayapur live stream, there's a festival going on every day there. And it's all about Krishna. And the way we worship Krishna is, through these kind of activities such as deity worship, kirtan, reading Shastra, reading the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. And there's also a lot of expansions that we see in the Srimad Bhagavatam that are mentioned. And we also see in this chapter here that universal form, which is displayed to Arjuna, is one of the many forms of Krishna. And so there's some of the very popular avatars and expansions of Krishna. And there's some that are not so popular, but the truth is there's so many forms that Krishna comes in at every so often. in the eternal wheel of time. But we want to explore why there's so many forms and so many avatars. Why doesn't Krishna just come as himself every single time? And well, if you're aware of at least the Dashavatar, or if you're aware of the 26 some odd avatars that are outlined in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, you might find that it's significant to talk about what avatar, what each avatar actually represents. So we're thinking maybe we could talk about what avatar do you think that would be most helpful in the present situation of today's world, either within this part of the world or within the entire world? What do you think is going on? Anyone aware of the problems, or is everything happy? Anyone having complete fun? Keshav, how do you think?
So I was just thinking that maybe Nityananda Prabhu would be a good person because like he's like the more merciful side. Like when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was gonna uh kill Jagai, he was like, "Oh, Jagai saved me," or Madai actually, and he was saying to oh that Jagai saved me, and that like he was saying to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to have mercy. So he's a more merciful side, and I feel like nowadays, like however people may act, they just need some love, they just need some care, and I feel like Nityananda Prabhu could give that to them. He could help them. So yeah.
Very nice. Nityananda Prabhu is one of my favorite expansions of the Lord. I mean, just as the concept of being so unlimitedly and unconditionally merciful to people like Jagai and Madai who were directly offending him, but also some of the worst people in the society at the time. I mean, it was unheard of that they were, going out and harassing brahmanas and, just doing the worst stuff you could imagine in society. Well, compared to today, it's nothing, but uh, at that time, it was unheard of. And to think that Nityananda Prabhu was so merciful to them out of everyone else in West Bengal, it's really amazing and inspiring, and it really assures me as a practicing devotee that there's not so much wrong with what I'm doing. So it's really nice to reflect on Sri Nityananda Prabhu's uh, glories and most beneficial and benedictive personality. Anupani?
Hare Krishna, everyone. So my answer, I kind of have two answers depending on the approach of what like could be done. But the first one that came to mind is Parshuram, because I feel like a lot of people need to be annihilated. That'd be kind of helpful, like getting rid and bringing life to like the next generation. But I don't know how effective that would be. So another answer could be Buddha. I feel like nonviolence and a lot of those practices like revived could be really helpful in today's age and also attract people maybe a bit easier.
It's a nice one. I think yeah, Buddha at the time, he already appeared in Kali Yuga. So it was contextually a time where people were already deviating from sort of the Vedic standards and everything, and moving toward nonviolence was, although it's not the main, because Krishna is telling Arjuna in this chapter especially, go fight. Don't be nonviolent, just be violent, but for the sake of Dharma. So when Buddha says be nonviolent, practice nonviolence, it's kind of a weird dynamic, right? But it's because at the time it was important that people at least came to this understanding of how to be human, because it was already a time where people were being so animalistic. And that was earlier in Kali Yuga, what to speak of now. So yeah, I see the value of, and Parshuram, what a direct, I mean, he would be, I guess, really a prominent figure in society if he came and did what he did all the way back then. Now, uh, anyone else have any thoughts, any avatars that come to mind, anything that might be valuable to see you discuss now. I think even Lord Matsya, we know him as the fish incarnation who comes in the first in the Dashavatar, or at least in the Dashavatar Stotra. He is seen as this representative of, ushering a new time and a new world because it was at that time when the cosmic destruction was, or partial destruction was happening, and he was ushering in the new Manu and the Manvantara. So I feel like just representing that kind of a replenishing or a renewal of society would be represented by Matsya. I don't know if it would directly be involved in changing that society, but there's a thought. Arya, what do you think?
I don't know.
No.
Thinking about what avatar would help the world is too hard. Maybe we could do what avatar would be most helpful in your life right now, given your problems. Like if you could just bring an avatar out to solve your problems, who would you bring out?
I don't know.
What in
Maybe Narsim Avatar, because he can kill the problems.
That's really good. I had the same answer actually.
That's a really big one because we prayed in our Simma for uh clearing our obstacles and what we're trying to do. And we see also in some other chapters of Bhagavad Gita why people go to pray to demigods and worship demigods. It's for the similar, at least some demigods, they're known for clearing obstacles in life or granting certain things. But we pray to Nrsimhadev because that's what he does. And that's why he's a part of our programs. We sing the Nrsimha Arti after Mangala Arti and after the evening Arti and Darshan Arti. So it's always there. And that's our conception. So Nrsimhadev is also a pretty big one, pretty important. When in doubt, like Arya was initially when I put her on the spot, when in doubt, I think maybe Krishna is a good one. Just have someone to talk to, someone to hang out with. Kirtaniya Gora.
I feel like I also had Nrsimhadev for one because he's like protecting, but like I feel like also like Gurumadev like sets a really nice example because like he's there to lift so much burden, like, and help us so much. So I was just thinking of Gurumadev too.
Wow, amazing. I was just there about a month and a half ago in Kormakshetra. We were there with Vaisheshika Maharaj as part of the youth yatra, and it was a really nice session we had that he was discussing why Kormadev, appeared and what he did, his pastime. Really, I mean, yeah, when you put it like that, he bared such a big burden for the demigods and demons when they were trying to churn the ocean. So, really nice form of Krishna to pray to. Well, if no one else has anything else that they would like to share as part of this discussion, we can move forward to our next program or activity, and that's the Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita. And let me pull up the chapter that we resumed. Just a second. So I'll begin and we can each read 3 paragraphs. If they're smaller, then you can read 4 or whatever makes sense. Now today we shall begin the 4th chapter, what Lord Krishna says to Arjuna. His lecture is very basic and yet, for restless youth, heavily philosophical. Some can't take it and they rise rudely upon hearing the Swami's first words, put on their shoes at the front door and return to the street. Others had left as soon as they saw the singing was over. Still, this is his best group yet. A few of the Bowery congregation are present. The boys from Mott Street are here, and they're specifically looking for a group. Many in the group have already read Bhagavad Gita, and they're not too proud to hear and admit that they didn't understand it. It's another hot and noisy July evening outside his door. Children are on summer vacation and they stay out until on the street until dark. Nearby, a big dog is barking. Row, row, row. The traffic creates constant rumbling. Just outside the window, little girls are shrieking, and all this makes lecturing difficult. Yet, despite the distraction of children, traffic, and dogs, he wants the door open. If it is closed, he says, why is it closed? People may come in. He continues, undaunted, quoting Sanskrit, holding his audience and developing his urgent message, while the relentless cacophony rivals his every word. Row, row, row. Eek, yeah. Shrieking like little Spanish witches, the girls disturb the whole block. In the distance, a man shouts from his window, get out of here, get out of here. The Piney, go ahead.
Prabhupada, ask them not to make noise. Roy, one of the boys in the temple. The man is chasing the kids now. Prabhupada, yes, yes, these children are making a disturbance. Ask them. Roy, yes, that's what, the man's chasing them right now. Prabhupada, they're making noises. Roy, yes, he's chasing them now. The man chases the children away, but they'll be back. You can't chase the children off the street. They live there. And the big dog never stops barking. And who can stop the cars? The cars are always there. Prabhupada uses the cars to give an example. When a car momentarily comes into our vision on 2nd Avenue, we certainly don't think that it had no existence before we saw it, or that it ceases to exist once it is passed from view. Similarly, when Krishna goes from this planet to another, it doesn't mean he no longer exists, although it may appear that way. Actually, he has only left our sight. Krishna and his incarnations constantly appear and disappear on innumerable planets throughout the innumerable universes of the material creation. The cars are always passing, roaring, and rumbling through every word Prabhupada speaks. The doors open, and he is poised at the edge of a river of carbon monoxide, asphalt, rumbling tires, and constant waves of traffic. He has come a long way from the banks of his Yamuna in Vrindavan, where great saints and sages have gathered through the ages to discuss Krishna consciousness. But his audience lives here, amid this scene. So he has come here, beside 2nd Avenue's rushing river of traffic, to speak loudly the ageless message. Was it 3 or 4 paragraphs, right, Daniel?
Yeah, 3 or 4 if they're small. I think you can read one more.
Okay. He is still stressing the same point. Whatever you do in Krishna consciousness, however little it may be, is eternally good for you. Yet now, more than uptown or on the Bowery, he is calling his hearers to take to Krishna consciousness fully and become devotees. He assures them.
Anyone can become a devotee and friend of Krishna like Arjuna. You will be surprised that Lord Chaitanya's principal disciples were all in so-called fallen in society. He appointed Haridas Thakur to the highest position in his spiritual mission, although he happened to take birth in a Muhammadan family. So there's no bar for anyone. Everyone can become spiritual master, provided he knows the science of Krishna. This is the science of Krishna, this Bhagavad Gita. And if anyone knows it perfectly, then he becomes a spiritual master. And this transcendental vibration, Hare Krishna, will help us by cleaning the dust from the mirror of our mind. On the mind, we have accumulated material dust. Just like on 2nd Avenue, due to the constant traffic of motor cars, there's always a creation of dust over everything. Similarly, by our manipulation of materialistic activities, there are some material dusts which are accumulated on the mind, and therefore we are unable to see things in true perspective. So this process, the vibration of transcendental sound, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, will cleanse the dust. And as soon as the dust is cleared, then, as you see your nice face in the mirror, similarly you can see your real constitutional position as spiritual soul. In Sanskrit language, it is said, Bhava Mahadavagni. Lord Chaitanya said that. Lord Chaitanya's picture you have seen in the front window. He is dancing and chanting Hare Krishna. So it doesn't matter what a person was doing before what sinful activities. A person may not be perfect at first, but if he is engaged in service, then he will be purified.
Suddenly, a Bowery derelict enters, whistling and drunkenly shouting. The audience remains seated, not knowing what to make of it. Drunk. How are ya? I'll be right back. I brought another thing. Prabhupada, don't disturb. Sit down. We are talking seriously. Drunk. I'll put it up there. In a church? All right. I'll be back. I'll be right back. The man is white-haired, with a short grizzly beard and frowsy clothing. His odor reeks through the temple, but then he suddenly careens out the door and is gone. Prabhupada chuckles softly and returns immediately to his lecture. So it doesn't matter what a person was doing before. If he engages in Krishna consciousness, chanting Hare Krishna and Bhagavad Gita, it should be concluded that he is a saint. He is a saintly person. Apichet suduracharo. Never mind if he may have some external immoral habit due to his past association. It doesn't matter. Some way or other, one should become Krishna consciousness, and then gradually he will become a saintly person as he goes on executing this process of Krishna consciousness. There is a story about how habit is second nature. There was a thief, and he went on pilgrimage with some friends. So at night, when the others were sleeping, because his habit was to steal at night, he got up and was taking someone's baggage. But then he was thinking, oh, I have come to this holy place of pilgrimage, but still I am committing theft by habit. No, I shall not do it.
So then he took someone's bag and put it in another place, and for the whole night the poor fellow moved the bags of the pilgrims from here to there. But due to his conscience, because he was only a holy pilgrimage, he did not actually take anything. So in the morning when everyone got up, they looked around and said, "Where's my bag? I don't see it." And another man says, "I don't see my bag." And then someone says, "Oh, there is your bag." So there was some row. So they thought, what is the matter? How has it so happened? The thief Then the thief rose up and told all of the friends, "My dear gentlemen, I am a thief by occupation, and because I have the habit to steal at night, I couldn't stop myself. But though I have come to this holy place, so I won't do it. Therefore I placed one person's bag in another man's place. Please excuse me." So this is habit. He doesn't want to, but he has a habit of doing it. He has decided not to commit theft anymore, but sometimes he does habitually. So Krishna says that in such conditions, when one who has decided to stop all immoral habits and just take to this process of Krishna consciousness, if by chance he does something which is immoral in the face of society, that should not be taken account of. In the next verse, Krishna says, Shipram Bhavati Dharmatma. Because he has dovetailed himself in Krishna consciousness, it is sure he will be saintly very soon.
Suddenly the old derelict returns, announcing his entrance. "How are ya?" He's carrying something. He maneuvers his way through the group, straight to the back of the temple where the Swami is sitting. He opens the toilet room door, puts 2 rolls of bathroom tissue inside, closes the door, and then turns to the sink, sits some toilet paper towels on top of it, and puts 2 more rolls of bathroom tissue and some more paper towels under the sink. He then stands and turns around toward the Swami and the audience. The Swami is looking at him and asks, "What is this?" The bum is silent now, and he has done his work. Prabhupada begins to laugh, thanking his visitor, who is now moving toward the door. Thank you very much." The bum exits. "Just see," Prabhupada now addresses his congregation, it is a natural tendency to give some service. Just see, he is not in order, but he thought that, here is something, let me give some service. Just see how automatically it comes. This is natural. The young men in the audience look at one another. This is really far out. The first chanting with the brass cymbals, the Swami looking like Buddha and talking about Krishna and chanting, and now this crazy stuff with the bomb. But the Swami stays cool. He's really cool, just sitting on the floor like he's not afraid of anything. Just talking his philosophy about the soul, and us becoming saints, and even the old drunk becoming a saint. After almost an hour, the dog still barks, and the kids still squeal.
Prabhupada is asking his hearers, who are only beginners in spiritual life, to become totally dedicated preachers of Krishna consciousness. In the Bhagavad Gita, you will find that anyone who preaches the gospel of Bhagavad Gita to the people of the world is the most dear, the dearest person to Krishna. Therefore, it is our duty to preach the principles of this Bhagavad Gita, to make people Krishna conscious. Prabhupada can't wait to tell them, even if they aren't ready. It's too urgent. The world needs Krishna conscious preachers. People are suffering for want of Krishna consciousness. Therefore, each and every one of us should be engaged in the preaching work of Krishna consciousness for the benefit of the world, of the whole world. Lord Chaitanya, whose picture is in front of our store, has very nicely preached the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. The Lord says, "Just take my orders, all of you, and become a spiritual master." Lord Chaitanya gives the order that in every country you go and preach Krishna consciousness. So if we take up this missionary work to preach Bhagavad Gita as it is, without interpretation and without any material motives behind it as it is, then Krishna says that it shall be done. We should not have any attraction for worldly activities. Otherwise, we can't have Krishna. But it doesn't mean that we should be inimical to the people of the world. No, it is our duty to give them the highest instruction, that you become Krishna consciousness. You become Krishna conscious, and a young man in the audience seems unable to contain himself and begins making his own incoherent speech. Prabhupada, no, you cannot disturb just now. Man standing up. Now wait a minute, man. A quarrel begins as others try to quiet him. Prabhupada, no, no, no. No, 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 no. Not just now. No, no, you cannot ask just now. Man, well, I'm trying to talk. Prabhupada, no, you just now you cannot ask. Man, but wait a minute. Man, wait. Prabhupada, why do you interfere just now? We have a regular question time. Others in the audience. Let the man finish. Yeah, let him talk. The man's supporters defend his right to speak while others try to silence him. Second man, I have just one question, please. How long is an individual allowed or expected to go on without any type of thought? How long? Should I stop there?
I think that's fine.
Prabhupada, I'm not finished. We will give question time after finishing the talk. The parties go on quarreling. All right, I am very glad you're curious, but please wait. Have some patience because we have not finished. As soon as we finish, after 5-10 minutes, I'll tend to your question. Don't be impatient. Sit down. The audience quiets down and the Swami goes on with his talk. After 5 minutes, Prabhupada, all right, this gentleman is impatient. We should stop here. Now, what is your question, sir? Man, practically we tend to place emphasis on those we identify with the fact itself. Many people are meant to explain the why-fores and the wherefores of the metaphysical truth that I think, therefore I am. Prabhupada, what is a particular question? Man, I have no answer to that question. Rather, but that I tempt, I live, I breathe. Yes. Prabhupada, yes. So, man, so ability. Tell me why I have nothing to do with it. May I understand the why for and the wheres? Prabhupada, that's all right. Man, I have difficulty in you. I have difficulty in saying. Prabhupada, so long as we are in this material world, there's so many problems. Man, not many problems. It is not many problems. This is the greatest fact. I know. Prabhupada, yes. Man, I also know that the whys and the wherefores of my particular Prabhupada, yes. Man, I didn't come here, but please, let me explain my position. This isn't necessarily, I feel I must. I think the difference is to learn. You'll find it innumerable times by the same token. Maybe we are able to reconcile the fact of individual being for a long time to find out why. Prabhupada, turning to one of the boys, Roy, can you answer this question? It is a general question. You can answer, yes? Should I keep reading? Or...
You can go ahead and read me more if you want.
Okay. Roy turned sympathetically to the rambling questioner, and Prabhupada addresses his audience. Enough questions. His voice now seems tired and resigned. Let us have kirtan. And the lower east side once again abates. The chanting begins, the brass cymbals, Prabhupada's voice carrying the melody, and the audience responding. It goes on for half an hour and then stops.
It is now 9 o'clock. The audience sits before Swamiji while a boy brings him an apple, a small wooden bowl, and a knife. As most of the audience still sits and watches, gauging the after effects of the chanting as though it had been some new drug, the Swami cuts the apple in half, then in fourths, then in eighths, until there are many pieces. He takes one himself and asks one of the boys to pass the bowl around. Swamiji holds back his head and deftly pops a slice of apple into his mouth without touching his fingers to his lips. He chews a bit, ruminating, his lips closed. The members of the congregation munch silently on little pieces of apple. Prabhupada stands, slips into his shoes, and exits through the side door. As Prabhupada retired to his apartment and his guests disappeared through the front door back into the city, Don, and Raphael would turn out the lights, lock the front door, and go to sleep on the floor in their blankets. Don and Raphael had needed a place to stay when they heard about the Swami's place. Prabhupada had a policy that any boy who expressed even a little interest in becoming a student could stay in the storefront and make it his home. Of course, Prabhupada would ask them to contribute toward the rents and meals, but if, like Don and Raphael, they had no money, then it was still all right, provided they helped in other ways. Don and Raphael were the first two boys to take advantage of Prabhupada's offer. They were attracted to Swamiji and the chanting, but they weren't serious about his philosophy or the disciplines of devotional life. They had no jobs and no money, their hair was long and unkempt, and they lived and slept in the same clothes day after day. Prabhupada stipulated that at least while they were on premises, they could not break his rules: no intoxication, illicit sex, meat eating, or gambling. He knew these two boarders weren't serious students, but he allowed them to stay in hopes that gradually they would become serious.
Often, some wayfaring stranger would stop by, looking for a place to stay the night, and Don and Raphael would welcome him. An old white bearded Indian turned Christian who was on a walking mission proclaimed the end of the world, and whose feet were covered in bandages. One slept for a few nights on a wooden bench in the storefront. Some nights, as many as 10 drifters would seek shelter at the storefront, and Don and Raphael would admit them, explaining that the Swami didn't object, as long as they got up early. Even drifters whose only interest was a free meal could stay, and after the morning class and breakfast, they would usually drift off again into Maya. Don and Raphael were the Swami's steady boarders, uh, although during the day they also went out, returning only for meal, sleep, and evening chanting. Occasionally they would bathe, and then they would use the Swamiji's bathroom up in his apartment. Sometimes they would hang out in the storefront during the day, and if someone stopped by asking about the Swamiji's classes, they would tell the person all they knew, which wasn't much. They admitted that they weren't really into Swamiji's philosophy, and they didn't claim to be his followers. If someone persisted in inquiring about Swamiji's teachings, Don and Raphael would suggest, why don't you go up and talk to him? The Swamiji lives in the apartment building out back. Why don't you go up and see him? Prabhupada usually stayed in his apartment. Occasionally, he might look out his window and see. through the back windows of the storefront that the light in the closet-sized bathroom had needlessly been left burning, coming down to ask the boys to turn it off and not waste electricity. He might find a few boys lying on the floor, talking or reading. Prabhupada would stand gravely, asking them not to leave the light on, stressing the seriousness of wasting Krishna's energy and money. He would stand dressed in khadi, that coarse hand-loomed cotton woven from hand-spun threads, a cloth that to Americans appears somehow exotic. Even the saffron color of Prabhupada's dhoti and chadar was exotic, produced from the traditional Indian dye. It was a dull, uneven color, different from anything Westerners. After Prabhupada turned off the light, the boys seemed to have nothing to say, and nothing more appropriate to do than look with interest at him for a long, awkward moment. And then Swami would leave without saying anything more.
Prabhupada usually stayed in his apartment. Occasionally he might look out. Oh, money was scare from his evening meetings. He would usually collect about $5 or $6 in change and bills. Don talked of going up to New England to pick apples and bring back money for the Swami. Raphael said something about money coming. Prabhupada waited and depended on Krishna. Sometimes he would walk back and forth in the courtyard between the buildings, seeming mysterious to the neighbors. He would chant on his beads, his hand deep in his bead bag. Mostly he kept his room working. As he had said during a lecture when living on the Bowery, I'm always working something, reading or writing, something, reading or writing 24 hours. His mission of translating Srimad Bhagavatam, of presenting the complete work in 60 volumes of 400 pages each, could alone occupy all his days and nights. He worked at it whenever possible, sitting at his portable typewriter or translating the Sanskrit into English. He especially worked in the very early hours of the morning, when he would not be interrupted. He would comb through the Sanskrit and Bengali commentaries of the great acharyas, following their explanations, selecting passages from them, adding to his own knowledge, and realizing, and then laboriously weaving it all, and typing out his Bhaktivedanta purports. He had no means or immediate plans for financing the publishing of further volumes, but he continued in the faith that somehow would be published. He had a broad mission, broader than even translating Srimad Bhagavatam, and so he gave much of his time and energy to meeting visitors. Had his only aim been to write, and there would have been no need to have taken the risk and trouble of coming to America. Now many people were coming, and an important part of his mission was to talk to them and convince them of Krishna consciousness. His visitors were usually young men who had recently come to live on the Lower East Side. He had no secretary to screen his visitors, nor did he have schedules visiting hours. Whenever anyone happened by at any time from early morning to 10 at night, Prabhupada would stop his typing or translating and speak with them. It was an open neighborhood, and many visitors would come right off the street. Some were serious, but many were not. Some even came intoxicated. Often they came not to inquire submissively, but to challenge.
Once, a young hippie on an LSD trip found his way upstairs and sat opposite to the Swami. Right now I am higher than you are, he announced. I am God. Prabhupada bowed his head slightly, his palms folded Please accept my obeisances, he said. Then he asked God to please leave. Others admitted frankly that they were crazy or haunted by ghosts and sought relief from their mental suffering. Lon Solomon. I was looking for spiritual centers, places where one can go, not like stores where they ask you to leave, but where you can actually talk to people and try to understand the ultimate truth. I would come to the Swamis knowing it was definitely a spiritual center. There was definitely something there. I was on drugs and disturbed with the notion that I must be God or some very important personality way out of proportion to my actual situation. I was actually in trouble, mentally deranged because of so much suffering, and I would kind of blow in to see him whenever I felt the whim to do so. I didn't make a point of going to his meetings, but a lot of times I would just come. One time I came and spent the night there. I was always welcome at any time to sleep in the storefront. I wanted to show the Swami what a sad case I was, so he should definitely do something for me. He told me to join him and he could solve my problems, but I wasn't ready.
I was really into sex, and I wanted to know what he meant by illicit sex. What was his definition? He said to me, "This means sex outside of marriage." But I wasn't satisfied with the answer, and I asked him for more details. He told me to first consider the answer that he had given me, and then come back the next day and he would tell me more. Then I showed up with a girl. The Swami came to the door and said, "I'm very happy. I'm very busy. I have my work. I have my translating. I cannot talk with you now." Well, that was the only time he did not offer me full hospitality and full attention and talk with me as many questions as I had. So I immediately so I left immediately with the girl. He was correct in his perception that I was simply going to see him just to try to impress the girl. He saw it through it right away and he rejected that type of association. But every time I came I was in trouble and he always helped me. Sometimes young men would come with scholarly pretensions to test the Swami's knowledge of Bhagavad Gita. "You have read the Gita," Prabhupada would say, "so what's your conclusion? If you claim to know the Gita, then you should know the conclusion that Krishna is presenting." But most people didn't think that there was supposed to be a definite conclusion to the Gita. And even if there were such a conclusion, that didn't mean that they were supposed to arrange their life around it. The Gita was a spiritual book, and you didn't have to follow it. One young man approached the Swami asking, "What book will you lecture from next week? Will you be teaching the Tibetan Book of the Dead?" As if Prabhupada would teach spirituality like a college survey course in world religions. "Everything in there is in Bhagavad Gita," Prabhupada replied. "We could study one verse for 3 months."
And there were other questions. What about Camus? What is his philosophy? Prabhupada would ask. He says everything is absurd and that the only philosophical question is whether to commit suicide. That means everything is absurd for him. The material world is absurd, but there is a spiritual world beyond this one. That means he does not know the soul. The soul cannot be killed. Adherents of various thinkers approached him. What about I don't know how to say that. Kafka, Timothy Leary, Bob Dylan? Prabhupada would ask what their philosophy was, and the particular follower would have to explain and defend his favorite intellectual hero. They are all mental speculators, Prabhupada would say. Here in this material world, we're all conditioned souls. Your knowledge is imperfect. Your senses are blunt. What good is your opinion? We have to hear from the perfect authority, Krishna. Do you mean to say that none of the great thinkers are God conscious? Boy asked. Their sincerity is their God consciousness. But if we want perfect knowledge of God, then we have to consult Shastra. Often there were challenges, but under the Swami's stare and hard logic, the challenger would usually trail off into thoughtful silence.
Uh, is the spiritual knowledge of China advanced? Prabhupada would sometimes answer by simply making a sour face. Well, I'm a follower of Vedanta myself. Do you know what Vedanta means? What is the first aphorism of the Vedanta Sutra? Do you know? No, Then how can you speak of Vedanta? Vedesha sarva aham eva vedya. Krishna says that he's the goal of Vedanta. So if you're a Vedantist, then you must become Krishna conscious. What about the Buddha? Do you follow him? No. No, you just talk. Why don't you follow? Follow Krishna, follow Christ, follow Buddha, but just don't talk. This sounds the same as Christianity. How is it any different? It is the same love of God. But who is a Christian? Who follows? The Bible teaches, thou shalt not kill. But all over the world, Christians are expert in killing. Do you know that? I believe the Christians say that our Jesus Christ died for our sins. So why are you still sinning? Although Prabhupada was a stranger to America, they were strangers to absolute knowledge. Whenever anyone would come to see him, he wouldn't waste time. He talked philosophy, reason, and argument. He constantly argued against atheism and impersonalism. He spoke strongly to prove the existence of God and the universality of Krishna consciousness. He talked often and vigorously, day and night, meeting all kinds of questions and philosophies.
He would listen also, and he heard a wide range of local testimonies. He heard the dissatisfaction of young Americans with the war and with American society. One boy told him that he didn't want to get married because he couldn't find a chaste girl. It was better to go with prostitutes. Another confided that his mother planned to abort him, but at the last moment his grandmother convinced her not to. He heard from homosexuals. Someone told him that a set of New Yorkers considered it chic to eat the flesh of aborted babies. And in every case, he told them the truth. He talked with Marxists and explained that although Marx says that everything is the property of the state, the fact is that everything is the property of God. Only spiritual communism, which puts God in the center, can be actually successful. He discounted LSD visions as hallucinations and explained how God can be seen factually and what God looks like. Although these one-time visitors came and went away, a few new friends began to stay on, watching the Swami deal with different guests. They began to appreciate the Swami's argument, his concern for people, and his devotion to Krishna. He seemed actually to know how to help people, and he invariably offered them Krishna consciousness, as much as they could take, as a solution to their problems. A few began to take Swami's message to heart.
All right, thank you, Sia, and everyone else who also read. That was a really nice section of I think, really vivid imagery provided by the author Satswar Maharaj. I think initially when we started the reading, I noticed how much imagery was used in depicting the scene of Prabhupada trying to give his classes to whoever was willing to show up against all the commotion that was going on outside the building. So just really wanted to appreciate that. And yeah, I think all of this kind of really paints a crude image of, well, the environment of New York City, but also of the material world in general, because Prabhupada was there in a completely new place, just to somehow establish and expand Krishna consciousness. And being able to do that in one of the worst places in the world where so much materialism is going on 24/7 is really impressive. So, as always, it's nice to hear from Prabhupada Lilamrita for that reason. It almost seems like a fantasy, but it really isn't. It happened just 50 or 60 years ago. So, yeah, now we can hear from anyone who feels open to sharing because we love to hear from everyone. Yeah, Parth?
I just from reading this Prabhupada Lilamrit, one thing that really connected with me was when all the stragglers came and then Prabhupada just opened his storefront. Anybody can come in, anybody can see the deity of Krishna, and as long as people are able to get that, even if they stay or if they don't, they still get to see Krishna in their life. Just wanted to share that.
Really nice, Parth. Thank you. See ya.
I think in this chapter we can really see how much of a struggle it was for Prabhupada to convince people, because as like I think there was like one line that said like most of the people didn't come for like to like curiously ask like that there's that one Gita shloka that says you should inquire submissively from your spiritual master. I think it's like chapter 3 or something. And so it says like everyone there was just coming to challenge, and there's so many distractions when there was the lecture. It showed the struggle for Prabhupada to even like come up with one sincere follower. But the fact that Prabhupada does later like come up with sincere followers, as we can see at the end of the chapter, it's very inspiring, and it's very surprising, because I feel like Prabhupada's god brothers have tried, and so many people have tried, but even in such situations, Prabhupada's still able to preach.
Yeah, nicely done. Yeah, I think you were referring to the verse from chapter 4, Tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshina. So pariprashnena, just by submissive inquiries, you have to just surrender and, be able to accept that you don't know everything. And if you're inquiring, that means you're inquiring for a purpose. Whereas many people who came up to Prabhupada in New York City were just trying to argue, or, trying to win some argument, make a point, or make a scene rather. So it wasn't really for the sake of learning. I think one, Lon Solomon, he testified in his in his quote that, he was there just to kind of show off and impress the girl that he was there with, because he was meeting Prabhupada in front of her, and he immediately didn't tolerate or entertain that. And that also speaks to Prabhupada's intelligence and, being able to grasp what the situation was at the time. Always, he recognized when to give time and attention to those who actually came to talk, versus, if he didn't see any use in talking to these people, then there's no use of, wasting time. He could be doing his other activities of translating work and everything. Kirtani Agora?
I was just reflecting on like one of the lines from the chapter. It was how like it said that instead of like sitting on the bank of the Ganges in India, like he's come all the way here, like even though he has like nothing to gain, to like sit with cars honking in traffic, kids like playing and making loud noises, and like all of these people just coming in, like drunkards and all. Like he could have just like been happy and stayed there, but like it's been like it's come up like so many times, but I still feel like it's so important, because like he's sacrificed like so much for, like he doesn't get anything out of it, but like yeah, so
Yeah,
that
no.
was struck me important.
Thank you so much, Kirtani Agora. That's a really nice point. And one of the most important points of being able to appreciate Srila Prabhupada and the service he did, it's a really magnanimous service. As you said, he didn't really get anything out of it personally, but in a way, it was just him carrying his spiritual master's order, which was to preach in the West and all over the world. So that's the big important part that drove his whole journey. Marjorie?
Hare Krishna. So I mostly am thinking about how hard it must have been for Srila Prabhupada. Like, even though he had so much faith and sincerity, it took a lot of effort. Like, as Srila Prabhupada said, it takes sweat, blood, and tears to make one devotee. And we can see, like, how so many people, they would come in, but none of them were actually serious. And he saw so many potential devotees come and go. And the drunkards, they would always come in, and none of them were actually serious about following Srila Prabhupada's philosophy, and they would come and disturb the classes, and there would be honking and children outside playing and immigrants. And he would get so many complaints. But even though all these people who would come and interrupt and challenge him, and even people who would visit him in his room, they would challenge his philosophy and try to cite other philosophers without following their philosophy and trying to defend them and simply challenge Srila Prabhupada's knowledge for the sake of it. I think it can prove how much Srila Prabhupada had to deal with before he finally got true devotees.
Yeah, well said. I mean, it speaks to the levels of effort and, as you said, blood, sweat, and tears that go into just making one devotee. What to speak of setting up an entire international society for Krishna consciousness all across the world in almost every continent, so many big and small countries. And that's really, I mean, what Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu predicted that, the holy name and the teaching of Krishna consciousness must be spread to every single town and village. So that's the most important point there. Yes, Vivan?
Hare Krishna, everyone.
Hare Krishna.
I had a point that I wanted to use to connect when Prabhupada first came to New York City and how much difficulty he was having to get actual devotees who were interested. And something that occurred to me was that as soon as he came to the United States, even when he was in Boston and Butler, Pennsylvania, and New York City, he conducted his daily life and preached as usual. He didn't really do anything to change his style, or maybe he adapted it slightly, but he didn't go like out of his way to change the full process and stuff. He kept it very practical, very simple, and treated everyone who came to him with respect. And what that leads to is that it doesn't just allow people to come and go. Obviously, he doesn't have to do anything extra for people to stay. Automatically, the people that are interested and inclined to this movement will stay back because they feel, oh, that sort of connection is there. And that goes back to the point of, oh, some devotees are like ripe fruits and some are still not ripe yet. And even though some devotees are not still ripe yet, Prabhupada still treated them with respect, such as the person who said, "Oh, I'm God." He still treated him with respect and said that God and treated him with respect, even though he knew that wasn't true. Still said yes. He bowed his head and he said, uh, "Hare Krishna," and then he said for him to leave, and that really allows for devotees to automatically come to Srila Prabhupada without him going out of his way to bring them in. And as I said, he was just doing the regular thing. And this also goes back to the point of Krishna and Krishna giving his mercy after seeing that you're doing your endeavor and you're doing everything that you can to be in his service.
Wow, well, really well said. And you know what I think is I'm sitting in a Zoom room full of a bunch of ripe devotees here because what else reason do you have that you keep coming back every week to join Youth Jam and discuss Krishna conscious activities and take part in reading Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, and Prabhupada Lilamrita? It's all because of the attraction, as you said, it's Krishna's mercy, but we have that natural attraction also for uh, these kind of discussions and activities. It's just our natural way of taking to Krishna consciousness. Really well said. Thank you, Vivan. Tarini Radha.
Hare Krishna. The what I wanted to mention. Sorry, I'm a little bit sick right now. That's why I don't speak much. But what I wanted to mention was how one thing that stuck out to me was how Prabhupada said that um you will find that anyone who preaches the gospel of Bhagavad Gita to the people of the world is the dearest person to Krishna. Therefore it is our duty to preach the principles of this Bhagavad Gita to make people Krishna conscious. Prabhupada couldn't wait to tell them, even if they aren't ready. It's too urgent. The world needs Krishna consciousness. Krishna conscious preachers. So that was just very like touching because it's like it says he couldn't wait even if they aren't ready. Like it was such an urgent message, and it connected to like probably like in chapter 17 a few like maybe like a month back when we were reading, where someone like Satsuru Maharaj, while writing, he mentioned that um what attracted people was the fact that clearly he was like old and he lived in the Bowery, but it didn't matter because it like clearly must have been such an urgent message that he decided to come all the way in his like 70s to come to America, went through 2 heart attacks, and lived in the Bowery of New York to give this message to people. And so, like, this once again, like, reiterates the point that how important this message is, how urgent it is for everyone. Like, no matter where you are in life, you should, like, start it right now, because it's never too early, never too late to start it, because our world needs it. We should we No one wants to keep taking the cycle of birth and death and suffering.
Thank you, Taranirada. That was beautiful. And yeah, the world needs it. I like the way you said that, because Prabhupada also said, when reporters would come up to him and ask him, "What are you doing in this foreign country, in this foreign city?" He would say, I'm here to save the world." And so it's really speaks to the level of how much he recognized that the world really needs all Krishna consciousness, not just India or not just West Bengal or whatever it is, but the entire world needs it. Keshav?
I just wanted to say one thing. So, we were reading in Prabhupada's lecture. There was this guy. He wanted to ask a question, and he was just like, he got a bit like complicated. So he was like, "Oh, there that like the why fours and the wherefores." And I was just thinking, oh, like people think a Christian consciousness is complicated, but it isn't. Like in the Shikshashtakam, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he like just talks about how this is like there are no hard and fast rules for chanting Hare Krishna, and that's kind of the basis of the Krishna conscious movement, is just chanting Hare Krishna. And because that's like one way to connect with Krishna. And also, I just wanted to say that I was just thinking like how nice and like how merciful Prabhupada was. Like he means like really worse, like really bad people, like in like context or in modern times, or actually not out of context. If you think about like a drunk person or this land guy who was like who all these challenging people, and even that guy who lived with him in the Bowery who was about to hurt him. So I was just thinking that he's being so nice, he's so merciful that he uh yeah, I remember that he was had a poetry. He wrote like one poetry on coming here, and he was like, "Oh, Lord Krishna, I don't know why I'm here. Like, just make me dance because I'm like a puppet in your hands, because I don't know all these people, how they just are really attached to like breaking the four regulated principles." So I was just like how much mercy Prabhupada had, because he had to do his Guru Maharaj's mission, and he was just like so nice, and always like he never gave up on us. So yeah.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing that, Keshav. It's really important to keep that perspective in mind. Ryan, for the close.
This will be a very short realization, but just like every day, it just wows me to see how Prabhupada just did all of that just to preach to people, and he didn't even know if it was gonna work or not. He just believed in Krishna, and yeah.
Thank you, Ryan. I think, yeah, I mean, not knowing whether something is going to work out is actually a big turnoff for a lot of people if they're a little averse to taking any risks and they want to play it safe. Prabhupada had no idea what was going to come of him traveling to the West at the age of 70, especially after he suffered those heart attacks, as we mentioned, because almost nothing could justify taking such a big health risk, big, personal risk at that age to do all these things. And yet Krishna consciousness was established and expanded all over the world because he took that risk. So it's really amazing that he didn't didn't hold back after seeing how much it entailed. So it's nice that you mentioned that, Ryan.
Yeah.
Really loved hearing from all of you. This was a beautiful reflection and discussion session. And one more thing, actually, since we have a minute and a half left, one more thing that I, on behalf of the Youth Jam team, would like to hear from all of you is how you are liking the programs and what you like about it, what you may not like about it, what you want to see different. And since we don't have enough time for people to share, I will send a feedback form link in the chat. So please do take the time. It won't take much, but if you have anything that you would like to see in the program or anything that you'd like that's going on already, please let us know in the feedback form that I just posted a link to in the chat. Yeah, it really helps us because we're trying to, as always, keep the program fresh and keep it so that it's for the youth. It's for all of you. So we don't want to make it too not appealing or not interesting, but we want to make it tailored to all of your guys' needs and what you want to see in the program. So please let us know in the feedback form link. And with that, I think we can end the program here today. I did learn a lot about Krishna consciousness. So thank you for that prayer, Keshav. It really worked in the beginning of the program. And thank you everyone for joining Youth Jam. We will end here, and I'll see everyone back here next Saturday at 3 p.m. Pacific and 6 p.m. Eastern. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Haribo, Hare Krishna.
Hare